Okay, I'm going to walk through a couple simple tips for faster files for laser cutting. The first thing you can consider is packing parts closer together. So with these parts that are packed separately versus packed tight together, not only will you reduce the number of lines that you need to cut, you also save more space in your material. As you can see, this one that's all spread apart, right, it's taking even about double the space, of course with this spacing, which is a little extreme. But with them packed together, we have more space left on our material and it'll run faster. If we compare this in the UCP system, which we can check our estimated time, the pieces spread apart are 1 minute and 51 seconds. This is cutting through 1/8" plywood settings versus 1 minute and 8 seconds. Even for just these few parts, the time is cut down fairly considerably, about 50 seconds. If you're having more parts on a piece, you can see how this could save even more time. The next thing to consider is the number of lines you have in your file. So in something like engraving, CAD blocks is especially a problem with too many lines. As we can see in this car here, there's quite a bit of detail, and maybe we don't need to etch every single line in order to represent this vehicle. So if we reduce the number of lines that still express the car, we can see that we'll run quite a bit faster. So let's compare these times here. So at this time for etching in 1/8" plywood, this would take 5 minutes and 37 seconds for the whole size of this piece, versus if we reduce the number of lines, we'll represent the vehicle coming in at 3 minutes. So we can see, of course, that's saving 2 whole minutes just on reducing the number of lines. One simple way to do this, not only can you delete lines, but you can also use commands such as curve boolean. So curve boolean, you can go in and you can kind of select different areas. You could do all regions with it selected to create the full outline of the piece. You can use it to kind of click together and join different areas and reduce the number of lines quite quickly rather than just going in and deleting every single thing. This is also a nice quick tip for just making an outside silhouette of a piece. Or you can also go in and just start deleting lines. But this piece here, with the lines reduced, this was simply using curve boolean and clicking into regions that I wanted to keep, keeping a couple of the car details, but not every single one of them. Okay, the next thing you'd want to consider is the number of points you have in your file. So in something like scale figures, this is something that's really relevant. In these pieces, we can see if I click on here, it starts to show the number of points around a piece. There's a lot of detail in these scale figures. There's quite a few points. If we reduce the number of points, as we see here, these are also then consistently spaced. This is done through the command rebuild. So if we hit rebuild on here, originally there was 584 points on this file. We can reduce it to a point that still gives us enough detail. You can see the change in between files based on its preview. It's going to be previewing it with this blue line here. We can increase the number, say 300, and still get quite a bit of detail from this piece, but have less overall points and a more consistent point spacing, which the machine will have an easier time running. So let's take a look at this in the time estimation system. So with the original number of points here, 8 minutes and 18 seconds, versus reduced number of points, 7 minutes. A full minute off, and is a simple thing of reducing some points using the rebuild command in Rhino. And this is something also for complex curves if you're cutting them in your pieces, but especially vector figures is something that we cut a lot in the shop. We cut about 100 figures at a time. This is only a couple figures here, and we can see we only shaved a minute, or we already shaved a minute off. So there's ways that, like, if you're cutting even more of these pieces, it saves even more time. So it's something to consider in each of your pieces. There are many other ways to reduce your amount of runtime for laser cutting. These are 3 simple starter tips. Please watch our other videos for other tips and tricks.